43 pence she was given back every morning. As Mr. Akhtar was digging her change from the till, she heard the bell on the door. She saw him glance up and heard the voices, braying and fearless, as a group of lads came into the shop. She looked round. 3 of them, 1 black, 2 white, all full of themselves. "Here you are," Mr. Akhtar said. He held out Helen's change, but his eyes were on the 3 boys, and his voice was a little smaller than it had been a few seconds earlier. Before Helen turned back to him, she watched the boys amble across to the tall fridge and open the door, laughing and cursing. Enjoying the attention of an audience, Helen thought. "Looks like it might be nice today." "That's good," Mr. Akhtar said, still quiet, looking towards the fridge. "Won't last." Helen put the coins into her purse and folded the newspaper into her bag. She heard the man behind her exhale loudly, clearly impatient to be served. She had just opened her mouth to say, "See you tomorrow," when Mr. Akhtar leaned towards her and whispered, nodding towards the 3 boys. "I hate those bastards," he hissed. Helen looked round again. They were rooting around inside the fridge, pulling out cans, then putting them back again, laughing and pushing each other. One, who must have grabbed a paper on the way in, was leaning against a display of greeting cards, rifling through the pages. The man standing behind Helen muttered, "Oh, Christ's sake." She could not be sure if it was frustration at being made to wait or irritation at the behaviour of the boys at the fridge. "Hey," Mr. Akhtar said. Helen turned back to the till, then heard the hiss of a can being opened and saw Mr. Akhtar's expression darken suddenly. "Hey!" Another hiss, and now 2 boys were swigging from cans of Coke, while the third tossed the remains of his newspaper away and reached into the fridge for one of his own. "You pay for those!" Mr. Akhtar shouted. "I forgot my wallet," one of the boys said. The other 2 laughed, touched their fists together. The white boy who had been reading the newspaper drained his can and crushed it. "What are you going to do if we don't?" He held his arms out wide in challenge. "Blow yourself up or something?" "You need to pay." Helen looked at Mr. Akhtar. She could see the muscles working in his jaw, his arms stiff at his sides, his fists clenched. She took a small step to her right, moved into his eyeline, and shook her head. "Leave it." "Get out of my shop!" Mr. Akhtar shouted. The white boy's eyes looked small and dead as he dropped his empty can and walked slowly towards the till. One hand slid fast into the pocket of his hooded top. "Make us," he said. Behind him, his friends dropped their own cans, sending Coke fizzing across the floor of the shop. "Sorry," one of them said. Suddenly, Helen had no spit in her mouth. She eased her hand into her bag and closed her fingers around the wallet that held both her oyster and warrant cards. It was bravado. No more than that, she was almost certain. One flash of her ID and a few strong words, and the gobby little sods would be out of there in a shot. "I think Osama's shit himself." But, an instant after Helen's professional instinct kicked in, another took hold that was far stronger. It could so easily be a knife in the kid's pocket after all. She knew that she could take nothing for granted, and was aware of what could happen to have-a-go heroes. She knew one community police support officer in Forest Hill who had reprimanded a 14-year-old for dropping litter a few months before. He was still on a ventilator. She had had more than her fair share of this a year or so before. Now, she had a child. "Your shop, but it ain't your country." The man who had been waiting to be served moved closer to her. Was he trying to protect her or protect himself? Either way, he was breathing heavily, and when she turned, she could see that he was eyeing up the door, wondering if he should make a dash for it, trying to decide whether or not to make a move. Same as she was. "You lot of pussies without a bomb in your backpack." The white boy took another step towards the counter. He was grinning and opened his mouth to say something else, then stopped when he saw Mr. Akhtar reach quickly below the counter and come up with a baseball bat. One of the boys at the fridge whistled, mock impressed, and said, "Oh, look out!" The newsagent moved surprisingly quickly. Helen took a step towards the end of the counter, but felt herself held back by the man next to her, and could only watch as Mr. Akhtar came charging from behind it, yelling and swinging the bat wildly. "Get the hell out! Get out!" The white boy backed quickly away, his hand still in his pocket, while the other 2 turned on their heels and ran for the door, their arms reaching out to send tins and packets of cereal scattering as they went. They screamed threats and promised they would be back, and one of them shouted something about the place stinking of